One day, an art professor decided to have a contest with his students. He told them, I want you to draw a painting of what you think peace looks like. So he told them to use their imaginations and their creativity. And they came back and they presented all their paintings to him. He examined all of them and he picked the final two. He brought them forward and he presented them to the class. He showed one of them, which was of a beautiful lake and a sunset and just a very peaceful image. And then he presented the other one, which was of a similar setting, but completely different circumstances. It was a storm, and the trees were falling down, the wind was blowing, rain was falling, just very chaotic scene. And he said, this is the one that won the contest. The students were very confused, and they asked the teacher why that one won the contest, and he told them, look closer at the image. When they looked, they saw on the bottom of the painting, there was a bush. Underneath the bush was a mother bird with her children under protection, under the protection of the bush. Nothing was hitting them. They were completely protected and they were calm. And so he told them that peace is not when everything around you is good. Peace is when everything around you is either good or bad or chaotic, and yet you are calm. That's what peace is. A lot of the times we think that peace or true joy will come when everything around us ends up being good. I'm sorry, and I hate to break it to you, but if you keep waiting for that, you're going to be waiting for a very, very long time and probably the rest of your life, because it's not going to happen. And that's bad news. But wait, because there's very good news. Very good news. Amidst all of the bad news and of all of the suffering that this world has to offer, there is very good news for those of us that don't place all of our hope in this world, in this material world. Knowing and understanding that there is so much more to life than just this world. And that peace comes not from finding joy in the material possessions that I own. Or peace doesn't come from everything around me being good and from me having no suffering. But peace comes ultimately from the source of peace itself, from the source of everything, which is God. Jesus explains this in another image when he's speaking to his apostles right before he was going to die. And he could sense that they were suffering. He could sense that they could see that they did not know if they were going to be able to handle the suffering and the pain that they were about to endure. And so he gives them the beautiful image of a woman about to give birth and the pain that she experiences versus the joy that she experiences after her child is born. And I'll read the words of Jesus. They are from the Gospel of John chapter 16, and it's the gospel for today in the Chaldean church. Jesus says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you will weep and lament, but the world will rejoice. You will be sorrowful, but your sorrow will turn into joy. When a woman is in labor, she has pain because her hour has come. But when she is delivered of the child, she no longer remembers the anguish for joy that a human being is born into this world. So you have sorrow now, but I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice, and no one will take your joy from you." No one will take your joy from you. Imagine hearing those words and imagine believing those words of Jesus. That there is no one or there is nothing in this world that could take the joy from us. And that no matter what we are going through, we know that there will be an end to the suffering. Just like the woman who is in labor. She's going through a lot of pain, but she knows that the pain will end. And so the question is, and what I'm sure a lot of you our thinking, because a lot of us, we think only in physical terms, and it's hard to think in spiritual terms, to think not only in terms of this world, but of the world that will come, to think not only in terms of our physical lives, but of our spiritual lives. And so maybe a lot of people will think, oh, good comes out of evil, then why does so much evil happen to me if I'm trying to be close to God, and so much good happens to other people who are far from Him? What will the good be? What good will come out of me losing a loved one? What good will come out of children suffering, out of people going through a lot of pain and distress? What good will come out of the loss of life? Valid questions when we're thinking in physical terms. But when we're thinking in spiritual terms, when we're thinking with the eyes of the gospel and with the eyes of faith, we realize that the good that Jesus is referring to is not necessarily a physical good. Jesus doesn't promise us physical success. He doesn't promise an end to physical suffering. And He surely does not promise an end to physical death, although we say that He overcame death when He died on the cross. So what's the point? The point is that when we say good will come out of evil and that Jesus overcame death, is that Jesus gives us life everlasting. And that life everlasting, that joy and that peace that only He can offer us, can in a certain sense start now, because of what Jesus says at the very end of the gospel. He says, "The hour is coming, indeed it has come, when you will be scattered, every man to his home, and will leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, for the Father is with me. I have said this to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world." He just finished telling His apostles that they will be scattered, that they will leave Him, and that they will face tribulation and pain. And yet, right after that, He tells them, be of good cheer. Why should we be of good cheer if we, like the apostles, will also face tribulations? We will be scattered. We will be separated from our loved ones. We will be separated from Jesus through our sin. But why does He say be of good cheer? Because in me you have peace. I have overcome the world. In the world you have tribulation, and in me you have peace. Why? He says, because I am not alone. Even if you are separate from me through sin, even if you are going through suffering, I am not alone. I am with my Father. And He offers us to share in that intimate relationship that He has with His Father. And that is peace. Peace comes from God Himself. Peace, joy, and true happiness. Not the happiness that this world has to offer, which is of gaining material things that don't have an end and that can truly never satisfy us. True peace is not having physical pleasure, because physical pleasure also cannot truly satisfy us. We always want more and more and more, and can never be truly satisfied from whatever it is. But what can truly satisfy the human being and what can make us at peace is knowing that God loves us, knowing that God wants to be with us, and knowing that God is with us. He is with us in all of our lives, in all of our sufferings, and in even our deaths, because He became like us in all things but sin, even in suffering and death. And He bore the weight of the suffering and of the sin of the world on Himself to show us that we don't have to suffer alone, and to show us that when we sin, we are not alone, that we can come back to His welcoming arms, to His peace that comes from the grace that only He Himself can offer us by the love that He has with His Father, and that He invites us also to share and to participate in.